All right. Good to see everybody. I'd like to start off by just thanking our great Kansas City fans for the exceptional applause they gave us coming back home. I haven't had a chance to stand in front of you guys here and thank them. Also, Clark Hunt and the Hunt family for the great job in which they've done in supporting us in our cause of trying to get ourselves a little bit better each year, and they've fully supported us in that. And then Mark Donovan, who probably doesn't get near enough credit for the great job that he does as our president, and Brett Veach for the exceptional job that he does bringing players in and giving us an opportunity to win football games. I'll tell you, this is a little hard to hear. Hear yourself think here. You got to be in tune with this. Again, with that, I'll leave the time up to you guys here. Okay, you guys speak up. Just yeah, the offensive class as a whole, I think it's solid from what I've seen. I'm just kind of delving into that. That might be a question that you ask Brett when he gets up here, but it looks like it's a pretty good class.
How much do you pay attention to this throughout the season? If at all, do you get reports from your scouts, or do you just kind of cram right before the combine once the season's
Yeah, Brett keeps me abreast during the year on the different positions where the strength might be, and as he and his scouts jump into this thing. So, but I've got a base foundation getting to this point here, and then it starts kicking up here a notch. So.
Does it feel a little bit like cramming for a test since you guys went so long in the season this year?
Yeah, not bad. I think Brett does a good job of staying organized. I've got coaches that have been together a while. We didn't really lose a bunch of coaches, so we were able to keep everybody together, and we're hitting the ground running. So we took a couple days off, and then we got back, and we hit it running. So we'll be all right. Yeah, no. Right now he looks good. He was out throwing with Dez the other day, so he looked like he was slinging it around pretty good. So I think he's fine. Yeah, well, we'll get them back together first, and then we go about doing our business. We did that throughout the season. That part won't change. We've got to be prepared as a staff, and then we've got to get our guys prepared and ready to go for the season. But they know that there's a great challenge, because other teams, you're going to be their best game, and they're going to be ready for you, and they're going to study in the off season. So we've got to make sure we're on our A game as we come into the season. Now, Sean, I think, has done a tremendous job there. The toughness of the team is the thing that just jumps out at you, and he's an organized guy that works extremely hard, and we play him. We play him this next year, so I don't want to give him too many credits here, but they do a great job. Yeah, good coaching staff too.
You may or may not know this, in your tenure as a head coach, you've only taken an offensive lineman in the first 3 rounds 7 times. Is that by strategy? Is that something that you feel like there's just more value later with offensive linemen? Or can you talk about your strategy as a ball lineman yourself?
Yeah, so there's an importance there, I think, with the offensive and defensive line, and I don't really care where we take them. You just want ones that you can develop and win games with. So, and it's a very important position, in my most humble mind here. So it's I don't know all the stats on that, nor do I really care, but I do know the importance of it. Yeah, we've had 4 guys starting from the Cleveland Browns for us a majority of the time the last couple of years here. So, and they've stepped in and done a heck of a job for us. Andy Heck is phenomenal at developing guys and growing them into what they are, today. So
by contrast, your teams have taken 19 defensive linemen in the first 3 rounds compared to 7 on the offense. Do you feel like with the draft you have to spend higher capital to try to get those defensive players? There's not as much value laden with those guys?
Yeah, well, normally the tackles and your defensive linemen, especially if they have a low pass rush ability, go fairly high. So that's what normally happens there.
Sorry.
You're right, dude.
Have you spoken to Watkins since his talk about possibly retiring this season?
I have, yeah, and Sammy's in a good place. He's in a good place. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, but I didn't read it or see it, but I have talked to him, and he's in a great place. Yeah, well, I like that he's a smart guy, and he played the position of linebacker. That's what I had him coaching for me. But he had that beautiful mind, and he was a good teacher. So, and he had been there, done it. He's a great person too. So, are you from Washington, D.C.? Yeah. I mean, you're getting a solid guy, and somebody that Mr. Schneider can trust and know that he'll do it the right way. Right. So I get excited because Brett and his guys do such a good job. You know you're going to get a good player, and so I look forward to that. And I'm okay with it being 32. We're okay there. And most of all, let's just get a player, right? We get a good player that can help us. It doesn't have to be any particular position. It just needs to be somebody that can come in and help you, whether it's this year or down the road. Yeah, sometimes change is good for both sides. I think Carolina's got themselves a nice head coach there who I think is very talented. And then I think Washington has brought themselves in a guy that I know is talented there. So, and sometimes it's a little bit of a recharge, and here you go. The change of scenery sometimes can be a good thing.
Coach, is what we saw last year on the first season last season on Damian Williams. Is that what you guys really expected to see through the season?
Yeah, so Damian was banged up just a little bit early, and so. Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, that's what he's capable of doing, as long as he's healthy. So that's, that's been the only thing the last couple of years. But he stays healthy, and he'll do fine.
Not many coaches have taken teams to a Super Bowl. When you look at Mike McGriff's challenge in Dallas, what's the key to him taking the Cowboys?
Yeah, so he's good for the National Football League. Some of these guys that we're talking about here are good for the National Football League. They're good football coaches, and they handle themselves the right way. I have a ton of respect for Mike. I think when he was out of football, he kind of recharged by going back and looking at all the things he could do or do better, and analyzing himself and the game and where he wanted to go to once he became the Cowboys coach or whoever was going to hire him. So I think you're going to get even a better coach than he was before, and that was a championship caliber coach. So. Yeah, so I mean, whatever comes out of it, I'm on the Madden committee there, so the coaches subcommittee. So I'm involved with that. I know we're right in the middle of everything. Everybody's talking about it and going through it. The competition committee is, and the owners, I'm sure, will reconvene on it and talk through it. So I don't really care. I just, as long as it's a good, solid thing, I'm good with it either way. We'll see how all the meetings go. I mean, they're just kind of beginning right now. So. Yeah, I mean, I stay in the office, so I'm isolated a little bit that way. So there's not much change there. I'm sure for the players, you talk to them, they're out there and they're being recognized as the world champs. I have gotten a couple free meals. I mean, that was nice. but I'm not out there that much to where I'm affected by it too much.
Coach, you've been able to have a few weeks now after winning the Super Bowl to look back and to have it soak in. What are some of your fondest memories of it, and just has it sunk in yet?
No, it's sunk in, but you only have a short time to enjoy that, and then you've got to move on. So, and that's where we're at. So we took a little bit of time off after the game, after the parade, and then we dove right back in and got busy, and we're still doing that, and that won't stop throughout training camp. So maybe someday when we get a little older and we're out of the game, then you can sit back and go, hey, you know what, we did pretty good there. But right now, it's buckling down and making sure that we take care of business. Yeah, so McCole really did a nice job for us, got better every week, I felt. And we look at him as a starter. I mean, that's how we look at it. We just had a lot of receivers, so we felt like in a three-receiver formation or personnel group that we had, he would be considered as a starter for us. And then we had situational things for him when we weren't in three receivers. So I feel very comfortable with him. I know he's going to continue to grow. I mean, he's a real smart kid and likes to play the game. Tyreek's been great for him too. Those guys that are faster than all of us right here put together, maybe other than being on a motorcycle, right? So they can run, and they're kind of in their own world there. And so for them to be able to bounce off each other the way they want to try to do things is a good combination now.
So many guys said after the game they wanted to keep their group together. Next thing is, you try to project the message of, hey, you may have to sacrifice something to keep this group together.
Well, I talked to the team about that. You're never the same. I mean, that's not how it is. So before the game, they knew that coming into it. I talked to them during the exit meeting as a team that that's the case. I mean, we're not going to be able to keep everybody here. And then there's going to be sacrifices all over the place that you've got to deal with, and so that's part of it. In particular, time also becomes a issue. So you got to put this to rest, and then you move on. So I think in all areas it was a very unselfish football team. So I think they understand that. I think they like playing together. Some of the guys that you might be talking about have been other places, and they realize that it's a good situation, and so that's listen. If you have a good relationship with your guys and you're doing things fair, I think that becomes important. Yeah.
Couple more, everybody. Couple more. Andy, there's no starting cornerbacks or left-handers that hasn't been one since 2016. You're one of the few coaches who's coached on left. What do you think it is that left is the
I'm not sure what the percentage is in the world of left-handed people. Yeah, that's right. So you play my brother's a lefty, so I mean I know. You play the left-handed game, and we're just getting desks that work on the left side, right? I mean, you have to special order those, but they're actually putting them in schools now. So it's it's one of those things. The numbers are down, but that doesn't mean they can't be more effective or as effective.
Andy, have you talked with Chris Jones over the last couple of weeks?
Okay, schedule change. We are moving John Elway to podium 6. So we're moving John to podium 6.
Yeah, so Brett does a great job of that. I don't interfere with he or his guys on that. I stay back. I have talked to Chris and that part of it, but we don't get into any of that. I mean, and I don't talk to him about the contract. So that's not where I go with it. That's what Brett and his guys do. So. Yeah, I understand the business and how it goes. So, you'd like to keep I told the guys I'd like to keep everybody together, but that's not always possible. But sure, if he's here, he's a good football player. Why wouldn't I want him here? In Philadelphia? Yeah. No, I've talked to all those guys. I've stayed close with the organization. Guys like Les, I've stayed close with, and there are a couple other guys here that are Philadelphia guys. So I spent 14 years there, so I appreciated every bit of it. Jeff Lurie, I appreciate him being at the game. Supported me there too.
Last question. Speaking of Philadelphia, Sean McDermott, his success the last 3 years, more than any coach of the century in Buffalo. What have you thought of the job?
They just asked me that. I think he's done a heck of a job. I think he's a great football coach, and he's done it the way he wants to do it. He's got tough kids there and a tough football team. And, so I'm very proud of him for the job that he's done.
All right, thank you.
All right. Which guys? Yeah, and I've talked to all those guys. Yeah, all good. Yep.
So Coach answered everything. I'm good. Yeah. Ted, do I just start? Yeah, you got it. All right. Well, first off, I'd just like to say it's exciting to be back here in Indy for the 2020 Combine, and want to thank Jeff Foster and his Combine crew for the unbelievable job they do. Every year, this thing seems to get bigger and bigger, but Jeff and his crew make this thing run more efficiently year in and year out. So special thanks to him. I want to thank and congratulate all the employees back at 1 Arrowhead Drive in Kansas City, Missouri. It's hard enough to win games in this league week in and week out, and to think back on what we accomplished, from 4 straight division titles to an AFC Conference championship, and then our first Super Bowl win in 50 years, is truly a testament to everyone in that building. Everyone has a part. Starts with Clark Hunt and the leadership and the blueprint he provides, to Mark Donovan on the business side, Coach Reid and all of his coaches, just done a tremendous job. But again, everyone in that building had a role in this, and certainly want to thank and congratulate them. And lastly, and most importantly for me, it's a time for me to acknowledge just the special personnel staff I have. I'm truly blessed and fortunate to come to work every day with some of the best scouts in the National Football League. These guys bust their tail, every single day of the year, and it's truly a process here. I know these guys are excited to get to work, because we all know that the foundation for winning a Super Bowl really starts here during the offseason here at the Combine, and the draft process and the free agency process. And last year, it's really a testament to the work they did. We came here last year, we were an offsides away from going to the Super Bowl, and our guys were aggressive throughout every transactional period through the season, and being able to flip basically an entire defensive roster and add 12 new guys and have all these guys come in and contribute. It just shows how talented my staff is and how blessed I am to work with them. So, with that, I'll open up and take your questions.
Brett, you mentioned the foundation. How important is it for you to get a guy like Chris Jones back in this play here? Does the franchise tag, does that scenario still remain a possibility?
Yeah, listen, it's certainly a priority for us, and I had mentioned that. I mean, sometimes these things take some time to work through. As you mentioned, the franchise tag is something that we have the ability to use. We certainly like to see if we can work something out with him, and I think the tandem of Chris Jones and Frank Clark is something that any team would want, and we're going to work hard to see if we can get that done.
Had mentioned back in December, I think, on the discussions between the Chiefs and Jones' camp still ongoing. How would you categorize those discussions?
Yeah, no, they have been ongoing, and we actually have a meeting scheduled up here in the next couple of days. We had dialogue last offseason. We had dialogue prior to the season starting. Chris did a great job of blocking all that and just really attacking the season. He handled it like a true pro. Now we have the opportunity, once this cycle comes back around, to pick up where those conversations left off, and hopefully we can make some headway and get something done. Yeah, I think it's meaningful. Listen, all dialogue is good dialogue, and I think just being up front where we are as an organization, and what our expectations are in regards to what Chris and his camp, what their expectations are. The last thing you want is for something to go awry because there just wasn't enough communication. So you can't have enough dialogue, and like I said, they've been very open and honest with us, and we feel we've been have handled this situation in a very similar fashion. So. Again, we're looking forward to sitting down with his agents this week and continuing to pick up on the dialogue and where it left off.
In balancing the cap, do you think it's feasible to pay a guy like Frank Clark when he's getting paid and pay Chris Jones? Have two guys like that on your
Again, going back to my personnel staff, I also have a great cap staff, and Brant Tillis and Chris Shea do a tremendous job. It's challenging, but doesn't mean it's impossible. And I think just working through, the breakdowns and the dispersals and looking forward, a lot of this, we have to wait with the new CBA and see how that looks. But it's always a challenge. But I think when you have guys as talented as Chris and these other players, I mean, it's you're gonna turn over every scenario and just see what exactly can be done. So it's a challenge, but it's not impossible.
With this team built to obviously win now, coming off the Super Bowl championship, I mean, do you see Chris Jones being in a Chiefs uniform this year, whether that's playing under the tag or getting something long term? I mean, is it hard to imagine him not being here?
I would say that it would be a priority for us to make that happen, and what transpires in the next few weeks or months is to be determined, but certainly our goal and our intent is to keep him in Kansas City. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of time, and that's a good thing in regards to Pat, but I'm almost certain continue dialogue with him like we've had with Chris and these other guys, and as we kind of work through the new landscape of the NFL and the new CBA, we'll certainly get together and hopefully we can get something done. But I mean, that's another big priority. He's the best football player I've ever seen. Yeah, and the good thing is he still is. So that's a positive thing. Special kid, special player, and to have him work with Coach Reid has been a blessing for our organization and the Chiefs Kingdom. So hopefully we have a lot more Super Bowls to win with him, and we're excited to get after the next one. No, because I had said this before. It's I think when you've been around football your entire life and you've seen, sometimes you take for granted how great these players are that you see. And when this kid comes in and makes these talented football players look average, you're seeing something that the league maybe they're not ready for. So, he's just been, from the first day he's been in our building, he was different in regards to his whole approach and his talent level, and it was just a matter of, letting him play a full season. So none of that was a surprise to us, and again, we look forward to more of these seasons and hopefully more of these championships.
One of the things you love about Mahomes is the second he actually really talked about how do you think guys like him, Watson has some of that, some of these other guys are kind of changing the way people are evaluating. You were ahead of him, but are you noticing as you talk to other evaluators, valuing that too?
Yeah, I think overall, I just think the mobility in that position is something that every front office and organization, they're striving for. And obviously Lamar Jackson had a great season in Baltimore, but defenses continue to get more athletic and faster, and you need quarterbacks that can make plays outside of the pocket and tuck the ball and move the chain. So I think anytime you have a prospect that has mobility and the ability to extend plays is something that is going to be attractive to all teams.
Brett, there was a time where tag and trades never happened. It was very rare. You guys obviously pulled one off last year. Now I'm not asking you why you guys made that, but in general, how difficult it is to make when you're jumping? You need a players' collaboration, you need to get a team. How difficult is it?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I think sometimes it just takes you're going to have to find and really where a team is. Right, because you talk about a tag and trade when you're giving up draft commodity and money. I mean, you really have to feel, the team has to be in a position where it makes sense for them, and then you have to be in a position that you feel that this would take you over, that hump. And I go back to the work we did in our personnel staff, that we were convinced that we were moving to a 4-3, and that we had to get a 4-3 end, and it was just taking in all the information you had, where we were picking in the draft, and what would be available, and what we needed to make this defense go. So I think they're hard because you have to find just the exact scenarios that have to play out in that order, and it was a unique setup last year, and we were certainly happy that we were able to get that done. And obviously, winning the Super Bowl, I think, speaks for itself.
How do you look at this situation? Do you see there any way you can stand the team that any kind of structure? Where are you with that situation?
Yeah, Sammy's a guy that, like Chris, that we're going to have dialogue with this week, and there's certainly different options and different scenarios that could play out with him. He's a guy that we do want back. Again, these are good problems to have, because when you win a Super Bowl, you obviously have a lot of good players and they make a lot of money. But Sammy's a guy that, as you mentioned, I mean, he's been critical to our playoff success, and just having dialogue again. Like, we're going to meet with the Katz brothers, we'll meet with Torrey Dandy, Sammy's agent. We have good relationships with these guys, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about the landscape of where we are and what would make sense to us, and how we can make this work. And we'll get feedback from them in regards to what they're looking for, and hopefully we can bridge a gap and make something happen, and keep as many of these good players on our team as possible.
Couple more, everybody. Couple more.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. Listen, we've been blessed and fortunate to have two veteran guys that just did a tremendous job. Chad got hurt, and then Matt came out of retirement and played really good football for us. And that Minnesota game that we won in the middle of the season was a big deal. We actually have 2 meetings scheduled with both the representatives this week as well, and we'll see how that goes. But I anticipate one of those guys being back, and we'll have to work through the dialogue with both their agents and see what makes sense for them and us.
What's pending free agents? Is it safe to say you're meeting with all free agents?
Yeah, it's a busy week. But that's what makes it fun. And then you throw in all the young prospects you get to watch this week, and we're excited about getting after it. And it was cool to win a Super Bowl, but I mean, we're on already to the next season, so we're looking forward to it.
Last question. Obviously the answer is going to be the same about them being free agents, but if those guys weren't to be there, you've got Charvarius Ward and Rashad Fenton. Where do you feel like, with those 2 young guys you're sitting at, cornerback-wise, not knowing what's going to happen outside of that?
Well, I think Charvarius Ward and the things he's able to do over the last 2 years, I think, speaks for herself. I think he's shown that he's a starter in this league, and Rashad, because of some of the injuries we had this past season, he's a guy that has stepped up and played an important role in our season last year. We expect more out of him. He has some nickel and some outside versatility. We're excited with both those guys, but the volume will be low if we're not able to retain all these corners. So we'll certainly be trying to address that as we move into the offseason here.
Do you think Fenton's a starter?
I think he shows he's a guy that, I think when you talk about starters, we do so much. Spags does such a great job of mixing up what he wants to do day in and day out, and we do so much nickel and dime stuff. To say he's a starter, I mean, maybe a different take from somebody else, but just knowing what Steve does and how he implements so many defensive backs, I mean, these guys are going to play 60, 70, 80% anyway. So, I mean, those guys are basically starters.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks.